All right, so good morning. Welcome, everybody. How's everybody today? Yeah, all right, good. So thanks for being here. I know that perhaps your schedules are very full, and I appreciate everyone's time for carving out some of the time today. Also know that some people have some commitments that might have you leave the room and come back. Please, that's not a problem. It's not going to be disruptive. Love to have you in the conversation. So if you do need to go to another event, we completely understand. But for those of you who haven't met, I'm VanSumeren. I'm the Senior Director for the Ocean Enterprise Initiative at the Marine Technology Society, and been with the organization about 2 years. And part of my role has been activating conversations like this with our partners to gain insight and value, and then actionable recommendations coming from that. So as I've had conversations this week, I want to maybe take a step back and think about the ocean enterprise and what that really means and why it matters. Because I've had a lot of conversations about people not understanding really what the ocean enterprise is. And we think about the ocean enterprise as an ecosystem of commercial, nonprofit, academic, and government organizations that support ocean observation. They deliver ocean data and services, and they enable the growth of a sustainable blue economy. So all those things fall under what we consider the ocean enterprise. The blue economy is what we think of when we think of macro scale industry. So ports, shipping, defense, energy, fisheries, coastal infrastructure are all part of the broader blue economy. And that part is growing, and it's growing rapidly. And we've certainly heard the numbers, more than $3 trillion by the end of the decade. And that's being fueled from everything from renewable energies to climate services, aquaculture, marine robotics, but some new pieces that we're all talking about today or in these conversations, and that is deep sea critical minerals, carbon capture, blue biotechnology. And so the challenge here is, while this growth is real, the infrastructure that supports it, the things I mentioned in the enterprise, the data, the technology, and those services are largely invisible to investors, to policymakers, and even to the broader public. And this is where the Ocean Enterprise Initiative steps in as one of MTS's flagship programs, and we have Millie and Susan here from the Ocean Exchange team, but we are funded directly through a cooperative agreement with NOAA. And then that also includes partnerships that help us grow this in a global perspective. So we bring in the Global Ocean Observing System housed at the UN. We have industry partners, Kongsberg Discovery and L3 Harris, all help shape and guide these conversations. And together, we want to raise the visibility, the credibility, and the investability of the ocean enterprise sector. We want to ensure the space is seen not just as a support function, but as a core engine to the blue economy. And that supporting and growing the ocean observing industry, the companies, the entrepreneurs, the researchers, and government agencies that collect, analyze, and turn ocean data into products and services that benefit everyone, is something that we catalyze. And that, in simplest terms, I want to say is, those are what we all do here. We work every day to connect ocean knowledge into real-world decision-making opportunities. So the Ocean Enterprise Initiative, and you'll hear a little bit of this in conversations throughout, and I'll talk about some of their products later on, but we operate on 3 tracks. And the first one is that we convene conversations between public, private, and academic sectors. We bring companies into dialogue with federal agencies like NOAA so that public priorities get translated into commercial opportunities and vice versa. Second, we work to develop a workforce that these sectors need, pushing for faster and more flexible pathways for education models rather than some of the slow traditional models that are out there today. And then lastly, we want to facilitate the exchange of data and information across the ecosystem. And that is so that good technology finds its way to the people who can use it and scale it. In another perspective is the underlying bet is the ocean observing community, the sensors on buoys, forecasting services, underwater robotics are underbuilt relative to the potential. And we need to do more, significantly improve what that looks like from a market perspective. And the Ocean Enterprise Initiative closes that gap by making the sector more connected, better funded, and better understood. So to enable the blue economy of tomorrow, the ones that are building the sensors, the companies that are doing this kind of work, that are deploying these systems, they're integrating the data streams, they're still flying under the radar, is the way we perceive that. They exist in large, but they're isolated silos. These islands are disconnected from the major investment pipelines. Many of the people here today are from that investment community, and we are much less visible than the mature tech sides that typically you see. So to build on this, and this will feed into why a lot of you are here today and some of you that were here about 6 months ago, we hosted a first convening, the Ocean Finance Roundtable, at the Oceans 2025 conference in Chicago. And it was there that we discussed strategies to build and convert today's ocean finance deficit into a competitive advantage. And several of you were in the audience that day, including all our Ocean Enterprise Accelerator teams from NOAA, Continuum, VentureWell, Start Blue, and Generator, all here today, yay. And just a few key takeaways from that discussion, and that is the general consensus is there's a missing middle in the ocean investment with a lack of patient capital. There's insufficient understanding of the ocean enterprise among potential investors. And we need to see more collaborative efforts to de-risk early projects that drive the industry forward. We need to educate founders and investors better about what those needs are. We need to coordinate across the entire capital stack, which is paramount for effective collaboration. And then we need to start looking at blue-green investments in that teal perspective, which becoming more integrated in that perspective isn't an option if we truly want to scale. And then lastly, sustained dialogue. We're here today because of this, and it's anchoring these types of discussions that we want to maintain the momentum in the ocean finance sector towards converting this now to being one of the most capitalized market verticals. So before I introduce our keynote this morning, I want to recognize our conference hosts, the EarthX, and the entire EarthX team. It's been a great week for me. This is my first time coming here, and certainly learning a lot and enjoying it. I also want to thank the team that we have, Zach Bays from NOAA and Stuart Sarkozy from World Ocean Council. Really put a lot of work in trying to cultivate and curate the best set of speakers we could get here. And this is a very competitive time. I think all of you know that. Your time is valuable. Many, many people were not able to join today because of so many other events happening this week. So we recognize that. But today's agenda is not designed for a listen-only mode. So I know a lot of what we've been seeing in some of the presentations, there isn't a lot of interaction. We don't want that here. We want your voices. We want your insight. We want you to help build and maintain this momentum as we move forward. So all of your input can add value. And then following our keynote, our agenda includes some specific context for shaping the ocean enterprise, which Zach will deliver, and then Stuart's going to lay the charge for today. There'll be a couple of panels, one looking at thematic intersections to boost blue investment strategies, and then another on expanding the capital stack. And just before lunch, I'll share a brief overview of a new platform that we're launching at MTS called Blue Connects, that connective intelligence for the ocean enterprise sector. So throughout today's conversation, again, your insight, your value in the conversation, but we'll operate with Chatham House rules. So nothing will be attributed to affiliation or to a person, but we will synthesize notes that we'll share with everybody when we're done. And so now I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker for today, John Armour. John is the director of NOAA's Office of National Marine Sanctuaries, the trustee for a network of underwater parks encompassing more than 620,000 square miles of marine and Great Lakes waters. He has been with NOAA for over 20 years, serving in many roles across the National Ocean Service Line Office. Prior to coming to NOAA, he worked for the Florida Department of Environmental Protection to implement state wetland and estuarine protection. So John brings a rare combination of policy perspective, operational experience, long-term stewardship thinking, all of which are deeply relevant to the conversation we're about to have. So John, we're glad to have you here, and please welcome John.